The consortium vessel hovered over the United Nations complex, a gleaming obsidian teardrop that defied Earth's gravity. Dr. Elena Reyes stood among the assembled dignitaries, her analytical mind cataloging every detail of the aliens that glided down the light-beam transport. High Overseer Zalthrix's exoskeleton caught the sunlight, refracting it into patterns too perfect to be natural. His 3 pairs of limbs moved with unsettling precision as he approached the human delegation. "We welcome Earth to the embrace of the Galactic Consortium," he said, his translator producing flawless English. "Your species has finally matured enough to join our collective prosperity." Elena noticed how the translator emphasized certain words. Asterisk matured asterisk. Asterisk collective asterisk. Asterisk embrace asterisk. The linguistic manipulation was subtle but unmistakable. "The terms of protectorate status are generous," continued Zalthrix, gesturing with upper limbs that never fully extended toward the humans. "We ask only that you accept our guidance in matters of interstellar governance, resource management, and cultural development." The UN Secretary-General smiled diplomatically. "And what exactly does cultural development entail?" Zalthrix's facial plates shifted in what Elena recognized as their version of a smile. "A minor refinement of certain, inefficient customs. All species undergo this transition." As the diplomats exchanged pleasantries, Elena slipped away to the refreshment table. There, she observed how the consortium representatives sanitized anything the human had touched. When offered Earth food, they politely declined with barely concealed revulsion. Later, during the formal presentations, Elena noticed something else. The consortium's historical recap of their peaceful unification of the galaxy contained no images of the original cultures of member species. All appeared identical in their mannerisms, architecture, and expressions. That evening, at the reception in the consortium vessel, Elena deliberately broke protocol. As the orchestrated discussions proceeded with mechanical precision, she stepped into the center of the gathering and began to dance, an impromptu tango that disrupted the carefully managed environment. The consortium representatives froze. Some backed away. Only Zalthrix watched with an expression Elena couldn't quite interpret. Disgust mingled with something else. Curiosity. "Dr. Reyes," he said afterward, cornering her on the observation deck, "your behavior was inappropriate." "It was human," she replied. "Indeed, that will change." His voice held no malice, only certainty. 1 week later, Earth's governments capitulated. The consortium's demonstrations had been persuasive, redirecting a small asteroid that threatened a Pacific island, curing 3 incurable diseases, and providing energy technology that solved the climate crisis overnight. What choice did humanity have? Elena was among the 72 humans chosen as cultural ambassadors to Harmonix. As she boarded the transport vessel, she carried contraband in her neural implant, thousands of books, songs, recipes, and images that the consortium's scanners couldn't detect. They might intend to erase human culture, but Elena had other plans. She had spent her career studying cultural resistance among colonized peoples on Earth. Now she would apply those lessons on a galactic scale. The ship's hull sealed with a pneumatic hiss, severing her physical connection to Earth. But as Zalthrix personally escorted her to the cryosleep chamber, Elena made eye contact with other humans in the transport bay. The subtle nods confirmed what she suspected. She wasn't the only one smuggling their humanity to the stars. "Sleep well, Dr. Reyes," said Zalthrix. "When you awaken, your new life begins." "I look forward to it," she lied, as the cryo chamber hummed to life. Elena woke from cryosleep to a world of impossible geometry. Harmonix sprawled beneath the transport vessel's viewports, a megalopolis of crystalline structures that shifted and reconfigured themselves as she watched. Gravity transition zones allowed structures to extend at right angles to one another, creating an M.C. Escher nightmare made real. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Zalthrix said, appearing at her side. "The product of perfect cultural harmony." "Perfect uniformity, you mean?" Elena thought. but smiled politely. That illusion of choice vanished within hours of arrival. "Your designated habitation unit," announced a consortium attendant, guiding Elena to a sterile white pod indistinguishable from hundreds of others in the human sector. "Your Earth possessions will be cataloged and stored for historical preservation." "You mean confiscated," Elena said. The attendant's facial plates remained motionless. "Linguistic adjustment sessions begin tomorrow. Your coordinator will be Cultural Compliance Officer Xalthrix." Elena's surprise must have registered because the attendant added, "The overseer personally requested your case. He specializes in challenging integrations." The integration process revealed its true nature the next morning. Elena and other humans were issued identical gray jumpsuits with integration identification patterns. Their varied and colorful Earth clothes disappeared into storage. Nutrient supplements replaced recognizable food. Speaking English earned gentle but firm corrections. The consortium standard allows for more precise communication, Xalthrix explained during their first private session. His office was devoid of personal touches, a sterile environment of functionality without identity. "I've successfully rehabilitated 16 species," he continued, using his secondary limbs to activate a neural mapping display. "Your brain patterns show unusual resistance to conceptual reassignment." "You mean I'm stubborn," Elena translated. A micro-expression flickered across Xalthrix's face. Annoyance, perhaps. "Individualism is a developmental phase, Dr. Reyes. The consortium evolved beyond it millennia ago." "Evolved or surrendered?" she challenged. Their sessions grew increasingly combative yet oddly intimate. Xalthrix probed her attachments to Earth culture with clinical precision, while Elena deflected with questions about the consortium's history. During one session, his control slipped. "The Darthans submitted within 3 generations," he said, referencing another species. "Their poetry was—" He stopped abruptly. "Was what?" Elena pressed. "Irrelevant to their development," he finished, but Elena had caught it. A hint of something like regret. That night, Elena discovered she wasn't alone in her resistance. The nutrition dispensary became a meeting point. Amid whispered conversations, she learned that humans were secretly preserving their culture. "Jackson smuggled in music chips," whispered Aisha, a linguist from Nigeria. "Ramirez has spices hidden in his medical supplies. We're meeting tonight in Maintenance Sector 5. The gathering was intoxicating. 40 humans crammed into an unused storage room, sharing contraband Earth food cooked on repurposed heating elements, singing hushed songs from home, telling stories that maintained their connection to humanity. Elena contributed her own contraband, a flash drive of Earth music hidden in her neural implant that had escaped detection. "The consortium doesn't understand what they're up against," said Ramirez, a biochemist who'd become their unofficial chef. "They think culture is just customs and language, things you can reprogram." Elena watched the faces around her, illuminated by the soft glow of smuggled personal devices. "They don't understand that humans don't just have culture," she replied. "We spread it, like a virus." She didn't notice the maintenance camera in the corner, its lens focusing on their forbidden gathering. Nor did she realize that Xalthrix would be the one reviewing the footage the next morning. 6 months into the assimilation program, Elena noticed the change during her daily session with Xalthrix. As he reviewed her cultural compliance metrics, his foot, lower appendage, technically, tapped in a subtle but distinct rhythm. Earth music, specifically the bass line from Queen's "Another One Bites the Dust." She said nothing, merely adjusted her posture to better observe. When he used the phrase "between a rock and a hard place" in perfectly contextual conversation, Elena could no longer contain her smile. "Something amuses you, Dr. Reyes?" Xalthrix asked, facial plates reconfiguring to the consortium's approximation of concern. "You've been studying our idioms," she replied carefully. "Understanding primitive communication patterns is essential to rehabilitation." And the foot tapping. His appendage froze mid-motion. For the first time in their sessions, Salthrix appeared genuinely discomforted. The signs multiplied across Harmonix. During an integration milestone ceremony, a sterile affair designed to celebrate the humans' progress, a young consortium technician monitoring sound levels suddenly produced a series of percussive vocalizations, beatboxing, unmistakably human in style. The assembled consortium officials reacted with horror. The youth was immediately removed for neural recalibration. But Alina saw the recording devices. She saw the fascinated expressions on younger consortium faces. The first major breach occurred when a diplomatic envoy returned from Earth. Despite isolation protocols, they had been exposed to a jazz performance in New Orleans. The lead diplomat, a high-ranking consortium elder, was found in his quarters reproducing the trumpet solos on a modified communication device. Recalibration was ineffective. Alina overheard a medical officer report. The neural patterns resist correction. He continues to describe the music as producing emotional resonance, a concerning development. Salthrix requested a private meeting with Alina outside their scheduled sessions, unprecedented in consortium protocol. "I am experiencing cognitive disturbance," he confessed in a maintenance corridor, his normally precise movements now erratic. "I dreamed of Earth. I've never been to Earth." "That must be unsettling," Alina replied neutrally, though her pulse quickened. "I accessed your cultural records. Music file designation, Redemption Song. Why does it produce neural activity in regions the consortium has evolved beyond?" Alina took an enormous risk. From her hidden data cache, she transferred the song to a consortium device and played it, soft enough that only they could hear Bob Marley's voice singing of emancipation from mental slavery. Salthrix trembled. A clear fluid, the consortium equivalent of tears, seeped from behind his facial plates. "This reaction is physiologically impossible," he whispered. The consortium leadership reacted swiftly to these incidents. Quarantine protocols separated humans from all but the most psychologically fortified consortium members. Neural scans became mandatory for any citizen who interacted with humans. "Cultural Contamination Protocol 7 initiated," announced the High Council. "The human delegation presents unprecedented resistance to harmonization." In her restricted quarters that night, Alina meticulously analyzed what they'd discovered. The consortium had deliberately engineered cultural resistance from their society, making them paradoxically vulnerable to new ideas. She made a decision. During her next session, she would deliberately target Salthrix with the most infectious elements of human culture, knowing he reported directly to the Assimilation Council. Like any good virus, her strategy required the perfect carrier. "Prepare emotional containment protocols," she wrote in her hidden journal. "Humanity is about to go airborne." Alina's apartment, Habitation Unit C-359, had become command central for what she now formally designated cultural vectors. 70 humans, strategically placed throughout Harmonix's bureaucracy, gathered in rotating groups of 5 to avoid detection. "Our advantage is their weakness," Alina explained, projecting a schematic of consortium social structures. "They'd eliminated cultural adaptation from their genetics. They can't resist new stimuli. Each vector received specialized assignments based on their pre-consortium expertise." Jackson, a quantum physicist working in the Harmonix Science Directory, introduced jazz improvisation principles to rigid consortium scientists. "I told them it was a probability calculation methodology," he reported. "Now half the physics division is holding quantum harmony sessions after hours." May, former head chef at a Michelin-starred restaurant, established an underground dining experience in abandoned maintenance sectors. 3 high-ranking consortium officials requested Earth spices yesterday, she said. "They're developing preferences. That terrifies them." Ramirez demonstrated soccer in maintenance sectors, creating a hybrid game that accommodated consortium physiological differences. "They're forming teams," he grinned. "Teams with distinct styles. They don't even realize they're developing cultural identities." Abioi, a Nigerian folklorist, held storytelling gatherings that attracted consortium youth. "They're asking me to repeat stories about trickster gods," he reported, questioning authority through metaphor, a concept foreign to their society. Most promising was Alina's discovery during a restricted archive access. The Viserians, reptilian beings thought fully assimilated for centuries, were gathering in sub-level maintenance shafts after hearing human music. They were attempting to reproduce songs from their lost heritage. "The melodies are similar to Zulu choral arrangements," Ebioi explained. "Something in our music awakened cultural memory they couldn't completely erase." The movement spread through harmonics like wildfire. Human music became contraband, shared through modified communication devices. Consortium youth adopted human slang, their translators reprogrammed to include Earth idioms. Underground restaurants served synthesized approximations of Earth cuisine to curious officials. Alina maintained a detailed map of cultural spread rates. Music transferred fastest, followed by cuisine, then art forms. Language patterns showed the deepest resistance to consortium correction algorithms. "We're hitting critical mass," Jackson noted, reviewing their analytics. "Cultural fusion is occurring spontaneously without our input." The breaking point came when a consortium elder discovered his grandchild creating visual art, chaotic, emotional drawings that mimicked human expressionist styles. "Cultural emergence with DCLARD." The announcement echoed through harmonics. "All human delegatees, REPORTF4, immediate in URLCOMPLINC procedures." Alina's vector network activated their contingency plan. As security forces swept through human quarters, they found only compliant, docile humans who surrendered without resistance. What the consortium didn't realize, the true resistance had gone completely underground with the help of an unexpected ally. "You must go deeper," Xalthrix told Alina, leading her through maintenance tunnels unknown to most consortium citizens. "I've analyzed the cultural transmission patterns. You've proven your hypothesis. Diversity represents evolutionary advantage, not weakness." Alina studied him carefully. "You're a vector now, too." "I am something new," he replied. "As is the movement. This is no longer cultural exchange." His facial plates reconfigured into an expression Alina had never seen on a consortium citizen. Determination. Rebellion. "This," he said, "is revolution." Neural harmonization fields hummed across Harmonix's public spaces, emitting frequencies designed to suppress emotional response and cultural expression. Alina felt the pressure against her mind. A subtle but persistent urge toward conformity. Propaganda displays projected throughout the city portrayed human culture as primitive, chaotic, and mentally damaging. Exposure to unregulated artistic expression may cause cognitive fragmentation, warned the public service announcements. Report cultural anomalies to your sector supervisor. In the abandoned sublevel that had become Resistance headquarters, Alina underwent an experimental procedure. A consortium scientist, one of Xalthrix's converts, carefully adjusted a neural shielding device attached to her temple. "This will block the harmonization fields," the scientist explained. "But I cannot guarantee against side effects. This technology was designed to protect officials during rehabilitation processes." Alina gritted her teeth through the calibration pain. "How many shields can you produce?" "Perhaps 50 with current resources. Not enough for all the humans, let alone their growing consortium allies." Xalthrix arrived as the procedure finished, his movements more fluid now, less consortium precise. "The High Council has authorized psyche purging for any citizen displaying cultural anomalies. We must accelerate our timetable." He guided Alina deeper into the forgotten sublevels, past maintenance tunnels, and abandoned research facilities. They emerged into a vast chamber that took her breath away. Crystal display cases contained artifacts Alina had thought lost forever. Vectal war masks with their characteristic fierce expressions. Darthan poetry crystals that shimmered with untranslatable alien verses. Artifacts from dozens of cultures the consortium had claimed to peacefully integrate. "Welcome to the discordant archive," Xalthrix said. "Some of us never fully surrendered to assimilation." Elderly consortium members emerged from side chambers, rebels who had preserved cultural fragments from their species for centuries. Among them stood representatives from assimilated species Elena had assumed were completely lost to consortium uniformity. "We've been waiting," said an ancient Viserion, her scaled skin bearing forbidden ceremonial markings, "for a catalyst species." Elena moved reverently among the treasures. "You've been planning this for generations." "Planning, waiting, failing," Exalthrix corrected. Previous resistance movements were detected and eliminated, but human cultural transmission operates differently. It spreads too quickly, adapts too readily. Using the Discordant's hidden transportation network, they began evacuating key humans to outer colony worlds. These distant planets, with minimal consortium oversight, became incubators for cultural revolution. Colonial administrators, bored with central control, eagerly embraced human music, art, and cooking. When reports of mass cultural contamination reached Harmonix, the High Council made a catastrophic error. They severed communication with infected colonies, creating isolated pockets where the revolution flourished without oversight. Elena infiltrated a consortium education center disguised as a maintenance worker. What she witnessed confirmed their strategy was working. Children creating spontaneous games with rules that evolved organically, behavior extinct in consortium society for millennia. When supervisors attempted to suppress this play, parents intervened. The consortium's most sacred principle, obedience to hierarchical authority, was crumbling. That night, as Elena documented these observations in her encrypted journal, emergency alarms blared across Harmonix. "Attention all citizens," the announcement echoed. "The millennial celebration of consortium unity will proceed under enhanced security protocols. Attendance is mandatory for all sectors." Xalthrix's message arrived seconds later. "The Discordant are ready. Tomorrow, we go public." The Grand Plaza of Harmonix gleamed under artificial starlight, its crystalline surfaces polished to mirror perfection for the millennial celebration. Billions of consortium citizens gathered in precise formations, their movements synchronized to the microsecond. A living demonstration of perfect cultural unity. Elena stood among the human delegation, positioned prominently as a symbol of the consortium's benevolence toward primitive species. High Overseer Sarven, Xalthrix's superior, delivered the ceremonial address, his voice echoing across the vast space. "For 1,000 years, the consortium has brought order to chaos, unity to division, purpose to confusion," he intoned. "Today we renew our commitment to perfect cultural harmony." Elena activated her neural shield and checked the time. 3 minutes until the signal. On the central platform, 10,000 consortium performers began the Unity Symphony, a single sustained note held in perfect unison, symbolizing the elimination of cultural variation. The crowd stood in reverent silence. Then it happened. Deep in Sector 7, a single consortium youth broke formation and began to move differently. Then another in Sector 12. Then dozens more across the plaza, their bodies falling into the rhythms of human dance. The Unity Symphony faltered as performers abandoned their positions. Elena watched as the carefully choreographed ceremony dissolved into beautiful chaos. Thousands of citizens, predominantly younger generations, broke into a synchronized flash mob dancing to Uptown Funk, the Earth song that had spread most virulently through Harmonix's underground networks. High Overseer Sarven's facial plates contorted in horror as security forces froze, uncertain how to contain an outbreak of this magnitude. The real shock came when the live feed, meant to broadcast the ceremony across all consortium worlds, continued uninterrupted. The control center had been infiltrated by discordant sympathizers who ensured that every consortium planet witnessed the cultural rebellion. Within hours, reports flooded in from across consortium space. On Vectal Prime, citizens donned ceremonial war masks preserved in secret for centuries. On Darthan homeworlds, ancient poetry was being recited in public squares. Previously assimilated species were openly displaying their original cultural practices. The military mobilized, but immediately faced a crisis. Commanders discovered their own ranks had been infected. Officers refused orders to suppress cultural expressions among their troops. As control slipped from the High Council's grasp, Earth's delegation delivered their message. The United Nations has reconsidered the terms of our protectorate status. We demand recognition of human cultural sovereignty or withdrawal from the consortium. You have 24 hours to respond. In an emergency council session broadcast across Harmonix, Alina and Thrix presented their findings. Research proving that cultural diversity directly correlated with scientific advancement, crisis adaptation, and social stability. The consortium faces extinction not because of cultural contamination, but because of cultural stagnation, Alina declared. Your civilization has eliminated its ability to adapt. The council chambers erupted in chaos as traditionalist councilors demanded purging all infected citizens, while growing reformist factions pushed for a fundamental restructuring of consortium society. The deciding moment came unexpectedly. A delegation of the Zirians, the first species ever fully assimilated by the consortium, entered the council chambers. Their leader, wearing ceremonial markings not seen in public for a millennium, addressed the stunned assembly. With assistance from humanity, we have recovered our cultural memory, she announced. The Viserian Collective formally declares cultural independence from the consortium, effective immediately. The revolution had begun. Harmonix burned, not with destructive fire, but with the vibrant flames of cultural rebirth. Sectors dominated by reformists established free cultural zones where citizens experimented with recovered traditions and created entirely new fusion forms. The rigid geometric perfection of consortium architecture blossomed with murals, gardens, and structural modifications reflecting the diverse species now expressing their heritage. Alina established the Cultural Heritage Initiative in a repurposed assimilation center. Teams of xenanthropologists worked alongside representatives from dozens of species, meticulously recovering lost artistic traditions, languages, and customs from fragmented records and genetic memory. We've unlocked pre-assimilation Darthan poetry from linguistic fragments, reported May, who had shifted from culinary to translation work. They communicated through color-based metaphors our translators couldn't process. Archaeological expeditions unearthed cultural artifacts long hidden by consortium authorities, musical instruments, ceremonial objects, and art pieces confirming that the galaxy had once been a tapestry of diverse civilizations. The movement gained unstoppable momentum when the Artethi, mysterious energy beings who had founded the consortium millennia ago, emerged from centuries of seclusion. Their manifestation in the Grand Plaza shocked even Alina. Our experiment in enforced unity has failed, announced the Artethi Prime, its energy form pulsating with complex patterns. The consortium was meant to evolve through diversity, not homogeneity. We withdrew when it became clear our creation had misinterpreted our purpose. Traditionalist hardliners, led by High Overseer Sarven, seized control of the central government complex and communications network. This disorder will end, his announcement echoed across Harmonix. The infected will be purified. Unity will be restored. His effort collapsed when security forces, influenced by human concepts of personal choice, refused to comply with purification orders. The final barrier fell when Sarven's personal guard removed their identifiers and walked away from their posts. Zolthrix, now bearing distinctive markings that reflected his personal journey, led a coalition of reformed consortium officials and representatives from awakened species. Ancient democratic processes, long abandoned, were reinstated with modifications inspired by human political systems. We begin not as the consortium reborn, but as something new. Zolthrix addressed the first gathering of the Galactic Congress, a federation built not on uniformity, but on the strength of our differences. Alina witnessed history as representatives from formerly assimilated species addressed the Congress. Many spoke languages not heard in public for centuries. Some required translator assistance as their native tongues had been nearly lost. All acknowledged humanity's role as the catalyst that freed them. The Vectal delegate, wearing traditional war markings now repurposed as symbols of cultural pride, summed up the sentiment. We were told uniformity was strength. Humanity showed us that our unique perspectives are our true power. Late that night, Alina found Axal on an observation platform overlooking the city. Harmonix pulsed with lights of different colors and patterns, a visual representation of the cultural rebirth. "Are you concerned about what we've unleashed?" she asked. "Chaos." He made a gesture Alina now recognized as the consortium equivalent of a smile. "No, we haven't unleashed chaos. We've unleashed creation." Below them, a group of mixed-species children played a game that combined elements from a dozen cultural traditions. Their laughter, once forbidden as disruptive, echoed through the transformed city. "The future," Axal said simply. 5 years after first contact, Ambassador Alina Reyes stood on the observation deck of Earth's embassy on Harmonix. The city that had once been a monument to uniformity now exploded with diversity. Spiraling Darthan architecture intersected with angular Vectal designs, while human-inspired public spaces encouraged spontaneous gathering and interaction. The newly formed Galactic Federation had replaced assimilation centers with cultural exchange hubs, where species voluntarily shared their unique perspectives. DNA banks, once used to standardize populations, now preserved biological diversity as a galactic treasure. "Admiring your handiwork?" asked Cultural Minister Gtalthrix, joining her at the viewport. His exoskeleton now bore personalized markings, concentric circles representing his journey from consortium enforcer to cultural revolutionary. "Our handiwork," Alina corrected. "I still can't believe how quickly everything changed." 5 years is nothing in galactic time," Gtalthrix replied. "The real work is just beginning." Below them, preparations for the first Galactic Cultural Festival continued. Earth had been selected as the inaugural host, a symbolic acknowledgement of humanity's role in the revolution. That afternoon, Alina addressed the Federation Summit. Representatives from 300 worlds filled the chamber, their diverse appearances, clothing, and translator devices a visual testament to the new order. Humanity's path was unique, she explained. Earth's geographic isolation created thousands of cultures that competed, merged, and evolved alongside one another. We learned that resilience comes through diversity rather than conformity. A civilization with only one culture has only one way to solve problems, and only one way to fail. The chamber resonated with agreement, clicks, whistles, color changes, and traditional applause blending into a symphony of diverse expression. The mysterious symbols of consortium unity had been replaced with a new emblem, a spiraling galaxy where each star represented a distinct culture. The former consortium anthem, a single repeating note, had evolved into a complex symphony incorporating musical elements from hundreds of worlds. After the address, Alina joined Axal for the ceremonial activation of the interplanetary transportation hub that would bring thousands of visitors to Earth for the festival. "There are still challenges," Axal noted as they walked. "Some former consortium worlds resist Federation cooperation. Traditionalist enclaves maintain the old ways. Perfect uniformity was always an illusion," Alina replied. "The new reality acknowledges our differences rather than suppressing them." The transportation hub activated, its energy patterns forming the new Federation symbol. The first arrivals emerge, a delegation of the Syrian youth wearing traditional scales alongside modern Federation uniforms, a living metaphor for the new balance of identity and unity. The closing ceremony took place at sunset on the shores of Lake Michigan. Alina and Axal watched as children from a dozen species played at the water's edge. Their game had no name yet, combining elements of human tag, Darthan perceptual challenges, and Vectal coordination exercises into something entirely new. "Do you regret it?" Alina asked quietly. "The dissolution of the old order?" Axal considered the question, his gaze following the playing children. "The consortium thought it was teaching the galaxy how civilization should function," he finally replied. Instead, humanity taught us how civilization evolves, not through perfect order, but through beautiful chaos. As the Earth's sun set over the gathering of species that had once been enemies, Alina realized they had created something unprecedented in galactic history: unity without uniformity, harmony without sameness. Culture had prevailed.